I'm Julian Richards, and in these programmes I'm going to try and find out how some of our great man-made icons were built. And what better way of getting into the minds of the builders than by poring over their plans? By exploring the details, walking the plans if you like, we'll find out what drove these great engineers and builders and architects to create their lasting wonders.
But this story is an exception, because we have no plans for my first icon. Stonehenge, that great enigma and Britain's most famous ancient monument. What we do have are clues, and the clues are in the stones.
Stonehenge is an amazing piece of precision architecture, but it was fashioned not with tools of hard metal, but with stone hammers like this. Muscle power and lots of patience.
Stonehenge is a passion of mine. For nearly 30 years it's been part of my life. I've studied it, dug next to it, written and dreamed about it. I've been part of experiments to see how the huge stones, up to 40 tons each, could be moved by muscle power alone. What I've learned is that if you look beyond the size of the task to the detail, you discover that this was a piece of precision architecture. Grasp that, and you begin to understand the builders.
Our ancestors quite literally pounded their ideas into shape.
But the people who built the henge, who moved and shaped massive boulders far larger than this one, left no plans behind. The drawings that we do have are those made by archaeologists. And in this computer age, I can shrink myself down, get inside the drawings, and by walking these plans, I can explore some of the details that are sometimes difficult to see in the ruins of the real Stonehenge.
Archaeologists have discovered that all these stones were carefully shaped to fit their place. This ancient building site was a place of measurement and a place of craftsmanship and of precision. But behind it all, there must have been a master plan. The way this temple was constructed convinces me that its builders were every bit as capable as we are.
They built with two types of stone. There's an inner ring of smaller stones which came from Wales, but the great monoliths that catch the eye all came from the Marlborough Downs. The stone I'm working fell out of a farm wall, but some are still buried, just as our ancestors would have found them.
I think we'll put one there.
Yeah, what, so just at the
On
edge?
the Downs, Jill Swanton's farm has become a home for experimental archaeology.
Put some thin bits at the side to sort of to line.
Jill's using new evidence to try and create a picture of the domestic lives of the builders.
And then prop them up.
So the idea is that we sort of lay down virtually a pavement
Yeah.
of lumps of sarsen.
With some sticking up that the meat can sit on.
She's going to cook a joint of pork over hot stones.
So you're not going to have the meat just sort of directly down on, on these hot
because
sarsen
you'd
stones
it, wouldn't
then?
you? We've put these two stones so it can sit above a hot area. But also...
Thousands of ancient pig bones have been found near Stonehenge. Do they suggest that the builders feasted after their labours? Jill's roast pork could give us a hint.
It's going to take a while to get these stones hot, isn't
Yes.
it? Right, okay.
So this is
we're gonna
why you need to get going.
Yes!
Yes.
While Jill heats up her stones, it's back to the boulder for me.
Oh,
It's hard, laborious work.
you see, you can knock chunks off.
I've asked modern-day stonemason Simon Armstrong to join me on Jill's
When
farm.
it's lumps like this, you can't chip those off. The only way to reduce that is just to
Pound away.
pound away at it.
You can't get under it. You
No,
can't. sort
no,
of-
you can't take it off in the same way. So I mean, I'll be interested to see what effect your modern steel
My modern
tools
steel can
have
have a
on
go.
this. Oh, that makes it look so easy.
Simon spends his working life in a mason's yard, where stone is cut by diamond bands for a construction industry that demands precision. Most of their work is shaping limestone. So I wonder what he'll make of sarsen, the hard, redeposited sandstone that our ancestors chose.
So that's harder than you're used to working, is
It's hard.
Well, I'm glad to. I just wonder, you know, if you can. You've created little ridges here. I wonder if I can actually batter those down with.
I want to show Simon what the builders of Stonehenge achieved with their simple tools.
This, Simon, to me, is the most impressive stone at Stonehenge. If you're a real anorak like me, you know this as stone 56. Incredibly, beautifully, smoothly shaped. The elegance of it, you know, the beautiful, crisp edges.
That actually is a worked surface.
That is a worked surface. This is the thing that makes Stonehenge, well, one of the things that makes it so different to every other stone circle, is these stones have been shaped. And this is why I wanted to talk to you, because I still sometimes find it difficult to work out how they did it. This stone, number 56, is probably the first sarsen to be erected. Logically, they'd have started building from the centre, because once the outer circle was in place, it would have been far harder to manoeuvre in other huge stones. I mean, if you look at that tenon sticking out at the top, you've got to remove so
There's
much
an awful lot of
stone,
waste there, isn't there?
haven't you, to leave that standing proud.
It's a bizarre thing to do, really.
Yeah, and then of course that then fits into this, one of these massive sort of basin-shaped mortise holes. So that just locks together.
Yeah, which makes sort of basically a sort of a carpentry joint. It's not masonry at all.
The whole structure was designed to lock together.
The Neolithic stonemasons pounded out intricate and probably unnecessary joints. It's a very extravagant way to build. And look what they shaped at the ends of each lintel.
So this is the outer circle, uprights, lintels across the top. What's even more amazing about these is that the ends of the lintels, one's got a vertical slot in it and the other's got a vertical tongue. So they fit together like that.
That's remarkable.
And look, if you come and have a look, there's something that I think is even more remarkable. What can you see?
It's actually been worked on a radius.
Yeah, they're not just straight lintels. There's a
actually a
gentle
radius.
curve.
That's potty, isn't it? It just seems to me they've just worked it for the sake of working it, really.
That's a very interesting point, actually, because this isn't necessary, is it?
Not at all. I mean, it's the mortise and tenon and the tongue groove. It's not a structural joint, really, when it comes to stonemasonry.
Yeah.
Stonemasonry is monolithic. It's solid. It's got the weight to hold it in place. This stone is incredibly hard.
So what can these very woodworking type joints cut in stone tell us about the people and their skills? Perhaps, just possibly, there are hints nearby. Not far from Stonehenge, across a landscape littered with the legacy of the prehistoric builders, a couple of structures stand out. Archaeologists call them henges, circular ceremonial structures.
Now this one is called Woodhenge. Unlike Stonehenge, it's got circles of uprights, but here they're not stone, they're of wood. Great timber posts, their position marked by these concrete bollards. So what we've got here is a plan. We know the size of the different posts, but what we have absolutely no idea about is what it looked like above ground.
Now this is pure speculation. But if the tops of the wooden uprights were linked, then there would have been joints. It makes you wonder whether a tradition of woodworking over here could have been the origins of those mortise and tenon joints back at Stonehenge.
Who were the craftsmen that built these henges of stone and wood? Were there really gangs of chippies and stonemasons wandering around Salisbury Plain in prehistoric times? To be quite honest, until recently,
When asked about the builders of Stonehenge, archaeologists tended to look down and shuffle their feet. We could see what they'd built, but we didn't know very much about the builders. But that's all changed recently, because just over there, a Neolithic village has been discovered. A cluster of houses surrounded by the rubbish that these people left behind. Now this is really exciting.
Here in the village, the dates all tie in. There's the huts, there's the building here of a timber henge, and over there, the construction of Stonehenge. So do these carpentry joints point to a community of craftsmen who are building here in timber, over there in stone, and living in these huts?
And if the builders were living here, then what will Jill's experiments reveal?
I built this fire over the top of the sarsen stones to try and heat them up so we can use the residual heat from them to do the cooking.
In a minute, we'll discuss the significance of a barbecued pig and a long piece of wood. Studying Stonehenge has given me a real admiration for the people who built it. To understand more, I'm looking at another nearby henge.
I've been exploring the remains of a great timber circle that lies about a mile or so from Stonehenge. Now just over there are the remains of at least 3 more, and next to them lies a prehistoric village. Now in the virtual computer world, I can shrink myself down so that I can walk the plans created by the archaeologists and see if these huts might be the homes of the henge builders. Faint post holes, found only over the last few years, show the outline of the buildings. The markings on the ground even show the layout of the interior.
Looking at the evidence, you can reconstruct their furniture and the hearth where they cooked. Next to the huts, archaeologists uncovered a rubbish heap. And archaeologists love rubbish.
And this is just some of the prehistoric rubbish from that site. Poking around in what the people have thrown away can tell us so much.
These pieces of pottery were in the rubbish, and these flint tools. But perhaps the most fascinating finds were the pig bones. Piles and piles of them.
By radiocarbon dating bones like these, we know that those huts were lived in at the same time that some of those great timber circles were being built. And this was also when they were raising the big stones at Stonehenge. So, a pretty busy time on Salisbury Plain.
The finds seem to suggest that the village was a place of feasting.
Pigs played a very important part at this particular time in the Neolithic. Pig meat was extremely important in a diet and possibly also in feasting.
Tests on the bones showed that the pigs had been slaughtered at about 9 months old. Now that would coincide with the idea of feasting at midwinter.
At the moment, it's on top of 2 wooden stakes on top of the hot stone. So we can start to heat it through. We have to drop it down onto the stone we built it.
So did the henge builders come to the village to mark the solstice, to feast, and to work on the next phase of their temple?
This stone here,
Whoever the craftsmen were, they were a capable lot.
how it was tooled.
I brought stonemason Simon Armstrong to Stonehenge to show him their work.
As if they've worked it in sort of stripes.
Exactly how we'd work stone now. You sort of work it in what we call drafts. So you start at one side and off you go.
Simon was struck by the gently curved profiles carved into the stones. He recognised them as entasis, an architectural shape used in ancient Greek columns.
And you can see on these, there is a slight bulge through its length from that diameter to that diameter there. Instead of being straight, you can just see there is a very, very slight bulge to it, and that's the entasis. The reason for having this is that if you just had straight-sided columns or monoliths in a long line, such as at Stonehenge or any Greek temple, because of the gap in between, there's an optical illusion which makes the column or the monolith appear as though it's bowing in like that. So it doesn't look straight anymore. So to counteract that, you obviously need to put that amount on the outside. So that when you actually do get them together, they look straight. I was surprised to see an emphasis at Stonehenge, because you tend to think that Stonehenge, it's been built in prehistory. They weren't very bright people. They're obviously semi-caveman that built it. And this is, from our perspective, an emphasis is something that's from ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and is part of that learning and mathematics and philosophy that the Greeks had. When you actually think about it, it's very obvious. You have exactly the same as a Greek temple. You've got stone after stone after stone, all very close together. They've probably looked at it and saw that their large pieces of stone appeared to go a little bit thin in the middle, where they went from a large base to a narrow base at the top. And they probably thought, well, if we just knock the shoulders off a bit, it might just bring it all in. It shows that it was actually thought about.
Another thing that I find, yet another thing that I find remarkable about Stonehenge, you've noticed that we're on a slight slope here.
Yep.
But the way they've set it out is that the tops of those stones that form the outer circle,
Yep.
they're level to within about an inch of each other across the whole circle.
Across the gradient.
Yeah, so that rather than having it like that, they've levelled it up so that the stones are completely
whole stone
horizontal.
level.
So, you know, the top of that lintel over there, the top of that lintel, and the top of those lintels.
All within an inch.
Yeah.
That's accurate, isn't
That's
it?
impressive,
It
isn't
is.
it? Very
Yeah.
impressive surveying.
Very long spirit level.
Well, spirit level, I mean, how do they do it?
Water, I imagine.
Well,
The old water level technique,
But then it's easy if you've got a nice bit of rubber piping or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm still struggling with the idea of how they surveyed it so accurately. Yeah, okay, somewhere around there, that'll be fine.
At Jill's farm, more experiments. We're setting out two poles about 25 metres apart.
When you can sight through this centre point to that far-ranging rod.
That's about the distance across the stone circle.
Okay. Simon, do you remember when we were at Stonehenge and I was talking about they levelled across?
An inch out, I think.
I've got this idea, which I don't know whether it's going to work or not, about how they might have done this. And it's all to do with a trough
First you fill the trough with water,
that way.
and then you sight across the water surface.
The next critical part is this sort of tripod affair here, right, which goes over.
This whole contraption could be made from materials available 4,000 years ago.
You can see how wonderfully complicated this is. This is what adjusts it up and down.
Is that up and
Yeah.
down?
Once we've got the water in it. Whoops.
It all pours out the other end.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we need to go up then. We need to. This needs to go.
So this needs to pull up a little bit.
The idea is that you pour the water in until it starts to flow out at either end. It should just start to drip out.
Yes, it's dripping at this end. And at that end too.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent.
Now the idea
Shall I take
is
that?
that you look through, and that gives you the level.
At least that's the theory.
Down a bit. Down a little bit more. Bit more.
This will give me the downhill mark.
Right. Stop. Okay. That's it.
About there?
Okay.
It's about
Yeah.
at Simon's chin.
All right, so now we've got to go round the other side. Let's just see.
Viewing up the slope, the mark should be much lower.
Quite a bit down. Okay, whoa. Right. Okay, yeah.
It's at his knees.
Yep.
Spot on.
If the henge builders had used a water leveller to sight across the slope at Stonehenge, then they'd have known how deep to bury the stones so their tops were exactly level.
Right. Okay, so on the top
But could they really have got accurate measurements using water?
of the yellow. Right.
We're checking the water level against modern equipment.
Do you want to know what the result is?
Go on.
1 centimetre out over a distance of about
25
metres.
That's surprising.
Yeah, you see, you were sceptical,
Yes.
weren't you? You look quite surprised,
I
don't
am a
you?
little bit, yeah.
Don't you? So that is as accurate as that.
Brilliant.
Are you impressed by these Neolithic stoneworkers then?
They've worked practically miracles with that sarsen, which is remarkably hard.
It's quite a sophisticated structure, isn't it, really?
It is.
You still get people who have this idea that people back in the Neolithic were somehow uncivilised, but actually they're not. They were incredibly sophisticated people, capable of building extraordinary things.
Which have a complicated architecture.
I always used to have this idea that when I was digging around the Stonehenge area, that one day I'd dig a prehistoric pit, and on the bottom of it I'd find the plans.
Scratched out in the chalk.
Scratched in the chalk, yeah, but I never did find it.
No, I'm surprised though.
But there must have been one.
I wonder if they sketched out how the stone joints were going to work. Or if 4,000 years ago they spent evenings poring over levelling calculations. Or maybe they were just happier discussing how best to cook pork.
Hey! Well, that smells all right. Looks all right. It was just a piece of pork with a few herbs put on the outside and straight onto the sarsen stones. And it was basically baked by heating the sarsen stones up and building them up around it. Do try a nibble.
I'm the guinea pig, am I?
You're the guinea pig. It's all right.
Beautiful.
Good.
Absolutely gorgeous. Compliments to the
Fantastic.
chef and the farmer
And the sarsen stones.
and the sarsen stones.
This is the most amazing time for our understanding of Stonehenge, because not only have we got a much better idea than ever before of the ways in which the stones were shaped and moved, of the incredible sophistication that went into the building of that great temple, but for the first time we can see houses. And those give us a glimpse into not only the everyday lives, but the beliefs of the people that built Stonehenge.
Join us at the same time tomorrow on Teachers TV for another episode from this series.